5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. I went to jury duty 3 months ago or so, something around there, right? About 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I ever had jury duty before. I remember I was called for it once before, and then I had to call this phone number, and they said, "Oh, we don't need you anymore." So I never went the first time. And then the second time, 3 months ago, in my entire life, two times being called to jury duty. So the second time I actually went. And what my experience was, and I never was actually picked for a jury, but I was sitting in this room filled with people all day long. Just one big room all day long. You know, we had magazines like People magazine that went back to like the 70s or something. Very old magazines. So anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is because Donald Trump is going to jury duty today. Did you hear this?
Yeah, you told me.
Okay, so I was thinking about, I'm putting in my visual of my mind, I'm picturing it to be the same way, that he's with the cattle call. You know, there's like hundreds or so people in the room with him, just sitting in these hard chairs waiting for 6 hours to find out that you're not going to be picked at all. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's running for the presidency, and he's a very polarizing figure, and probably is on somebody's hit list somewhere because people are just nutty. Dr. Ronald L. Feinman is on the phone. He is an historian specializing in 20th century American history. He's a professor at Florida Atlantic University, and he's written a book called Assassinations, Threats, and the American Presidency from Andrew Jackson to Barack Obama. In fact, I believe one of the stories about President Obama was less than half a year ago, or just a little bit more than a half a year ago, and I don't even think I heard about that one. I don't know how a piece of news like that escapes me. Dr. Feinman, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for inviting me.
And where are you right now?
At home in Boca Raton, Florida.
Oh, okay. All right. And you got that New York accent, so you must be from Boca Raton.
Well, I've been in Florida since 1989, but it was too late in my life to get rid of my accent.
You know, we hate to think about this subject. We hate to think that a president, whether you like him or not, we don't hate any president so much that you want them blown away.
Of course not.
You know, it's well, we live in a crazy world, and as you point out in the press material that was sent to cover this, every personality trait that might end up as an assassin is on it. It could be a religious nut. It could be a political nut. It could be, who knows? Who knows what the reasons are?
Well, also mental illness is a lot of the issue with many of the assassins.
Yeah. Is there any way to understand why a president is such a target? Is it because he's the most powerful person in the world? That's what they say.
Well, he is the most powerful person. He has control of nuclear weapons, after all, and he is the leader of the so-called free world. And those who hate freedom, certainly, or those who don't like authority, see him as a way to get fame and notoriety.
So does the book talk historically about all the different assassinations or attempts? And I'm curious if one is more fascinating to you than the others.
It covers all of them, including the living presidents, the attempts or the threats. The most fascinating, I suppose, is the Lincoln assassination, which I think is the most significant assassination in American history in any case.
Now, why is that? Why is that the most significant?
Because it changed the course of history in a way differently than, say, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Of course, both were terrible, but the Kennedy assassination was followed by Lyndon Johnson, who fulfilled, Kennedy's agenda. But Andrew Johnson, the successor to Lincoln, was a true disaster, as seen by historians, and changed the course of history between North and South.
Oh, really?
At the end of the Civil War, yeah.
And is there any indication that was actually calculated? In other words, is that what ultimately was wanted?
Well, of course, there was division between North and South, but there are many who think that if Lincoln had kept his first-term vice president, who he decided not to have on his ticket, if he had kept Hannibal Hamlin, which people say, who the hell is Hannibal Hamlin?
Right.
But he was the first vice president, and he would have followed a different Reconstruction policy by every evidence, and he went on later to be in the U.S. Senate. He had quite an interesting career, and I have my last chapter is on 15 might-have-been presidents, and Hannibal Hamlin is one of them.
Oh, really? Is Martin Luther King Jr. one of them? The ones that could have been?
Not Martin Luther King Jr., no, but for instance, with William McKinley, it could have been Garrett Hobart, but Garrett Hobart died in office, and then Teddy Roosevelt became the next term vice president, and he became president. Without that, we never would have had Teddy Roosevelt in the White House.
I gotcha. Oh, wow, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I went to Teddy Roosevelt's house, by the way. I used to live on Long Island, and it was...
It just reopened, yeah.
It just reopened. It was.
Yes.
I didn't know it was closed.
It was closed for renovation, and it just reopened, so I'm hoping to visit it. I haven't been there since I was a kid.
So he took a bullet? Teddy Roosevelt took a bullet in his career? Wasn't there a story he was telling? He gave a speech with a bullet in him?
Yes, it's when he was a former president, and he was running on the Progressive Boo Moose Party line in 1912 that he was shot, and he had his speech, 50-page speech, in his shirt pocket or in his jacket pocket, and that plus his glass case grazed him and caused the wound to be only a grazing wound. He was bleeding, but he insisted on continuing the speech, that's Teddy for you, for 80 minutes, and then he went to the hospital, and they never withdrew the bullet. They decided to leave it where it was, but if he hadn't had that glass case and that 50-page speech, he probably could have been killed.
Oh, wow. I never knew that part of that.
What is the significance of women assassins?
Okay, the only examples that we have are Mary Surratt was involved in the Lincoln assassination plot, not directly in the events of April 14th, but she had the rooming house where John Wilkes Booth and the other conspirators met, and she was the first woman hanged in American history because of that. And of course, there's some who think that was wrong to do, but it was done. And then we have the two strange cases of Gerald Ford, where we had Sarah Jane Moore and also Annette Squeaky Frome, actually Frome first. She didn't actually fire at Gerald Ford, but she had a gun on her. But Sarah Jane Moore actually did fire, and her bullets was indeed changed because somebody hit her, so like knocked against her, a Marine, and was able to make it that Ford did not get hurt at all. But it was 17 days apart, those two attempts by women, and it was very strange, to say the least.
Was President Kennedy urged to not ride in a convertible?
Yes, he was, and if it hadn't been for the weather changing in Dallas, it had been raining, he would have not had the bubble top come down. And also his problem was he had a bad back, and he had a back brace, so he couldn't duck after the first bullet, which did not indeed wound him. Or at least did not make it that he would die.
Oh, really?
So no, it's his back brace was a contributor, and the fair weather in Dallas, which convinced him to ask them to put the car down, caused them all kinds of grief, which, the coincidences of history. And, another example is Ronald Reagan didn't wear his bulletproof vest in 1981. He was on a short trip to the Hilton Hotel in Washington, just very brief, just leaving, just maybe a minute or two.
Right.
But but if he had worn it, he wouldn't have been severely wounded. And neither would the Secret Service, which apparently was not wearing bulletproof vests either, which is astounding, really.
Oh, wow. And was it David Brady? What was his name?
James Brady.
James Brady, I'm sorry.
Yes, he got wounded and he passed away after 34 years this past year. Yes, very sad. But I admire what his wife did for him. It was amazing how she was so good for him all those years.
So give us a little bit of background about yourself. Did you? How did it come to be that you wrote about the assassinations of American presidents?
Okay, well, it really goes back to when I was in college at Queens College in New York, that I had an English term paper assigned, and I decided way back in time to do the Lincoln assassination. It just fascinated me. That was the first thing. Then the Kennedy assassination followed the next year, and of course, everybody would be interested in that. And I've done lectures in South Florida on assassinations over the years, and one time I did a lecture here 2 years ago, and Roman and Littlefield, my publisher, actually got in touch with me at Florida Atlantic University in email and said, "We noticed you're doing a lecture on assassinations. Would you like to write a book?" And I'm now retired. I only teach part-time. I probably couldn't have done this years ago, but it was perfect timing. So I said, okay.
Wow.
So out of the blue, I got this opportunity, and I've enjoyed it, and I'm very excited about it.
Oh, my goodness. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back. We've got so many more questions, and I guess we'll touch on some of the conspiracy theories as well. And maybe there's some we don't even know about. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, times of clouds and sun with a couple of afternoon thunderstorms around, high 87 to 91. There'll be a shower with thunderstorm this evening, then partly cloudy later tonight, though 73 to 77. What tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds. Best chance of any thunderstorm in the afternoon, the high 89 to 93. Wednesday, partly sunny. A good chance for a thunderstorm or two, high 89 to 93. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bill Lundberg.
On this episode of What Not to Do, brought to you by
Mike Scott Plumbing. If water runs through it, we do it.
I thought I told you to call Mike Scott Plumbing to get this leak fixed.
I did call the plumbers. They were just here.
Let me get this straight. You're telling me Mike Scott Plumbing was just here?
Well, not exactly.
Well, then who exactly was here?
You know, the other plumbers. They were having a sale.
Is that why there's duct tape on my toilet?
Wait, I don't see any that duct tape. Well, at least it matches the grout color.
There's a reason we only call Mike Scott Plumbing. They're on time, every time. They don't charge extra for nights, weekends, or holidays. And most importantly, and I need you to pay attention on this part, they actually fix it.
Okay, so you want me to try to fix it?
Yes, I do. By calling Mike Scott Plumbing, like you should have done in the first place.
Yes, dear. What's the number again?
You really should know this by heart. 866-314-4443.
Got it. 866-314-4443.
on next week's episode of What Not to Do.
Seriously? A helicopter?
It's rodeo time in Ocala. The Great Ocala Shrine Rodeo stampedes back to town September 4th and 5th, 7:30 nightly. Witness America's #1 sport and the greatest show on dirt as cowboys ride to help children walk. 33 years of broncs, bulls, and bays. For tickets and information, call 352-402-8808. September 4th and 5th. Don't miss the Ocala Shrine Rodeo.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
And here's an incredibly simple and effective way to achieve even your biggest goals. You write it down, you sign it, and then date it and put it on your fridge or your bedside. Ice cream or gelato? I say it's a tie. But ounce for ounce, the experts say gelato is better. It has fewer calories and less sugar than ice cream. How would I feel if another man complimented my girlfriend or wife this way? If you would feel threatened, keep the compliment to yourself.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
Stay informed on everything going on in the Villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the Villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
All right, 18 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Dr. Ronald Feinman is on the phone, calling from Boca Raton. He is an historian and specializing in 20th century American history, and he's written a book called Assassinations, Threats, and the American Presidency, from Andrew Jackson to Barack Obama. And Dr. Feinman, I have a quick story I want to tell you.
Sure.
When Sarah Palin was running, I guess she was running for vice president under McCain, right? She visited a community near here called the Villages, and so we went down there to cover the story. And Robin has Robin wanted to take pictures, okay? So we got what we needed to get, and it was packed. There was so many people there. And we wanted to get out of there before the crowd. We pretty much got everything we needed, so we're leaving a little bit early. And the Villages is kind of a pretty place. And anyway, there was like a sand dune, like an artificial sand dune with some greenery growing up. And Robin thought, oh, that's a nice picture. I'm going to take a picture of Sarah Palin through that. So Robin climbs up on the sand dune and takes the picture. Yeah, nice looking picture. And we get back to the computer to look at all the pictures. And while she didn't see it through the viewfinder, on the screen, you could clearly see what I would guess was a Secret Service agent looking directly into her camera. I mean, he was off to the side, but there was no question he saw Robin.
Yeah, he was right there.
And I'm guessing if that looked like anything but a camera, we wouldn't have Robin here right now.
That's right.
Well, yeah, I must say that vice presidential candidates are protected as much as presidential candidates. And we've had 3 presidential candidates who faced assassination, and 2 of them died. We had Huey Long in 1935, who I have a chapter on, and Robert Kennedy in 1968. And then we have George Wallace, who was paralyzed for life in 1972 by an assassin.
Yeah, right.
So it's not just presidents or former presidents, it's also candidates that have to be worried, and I think it's a big problem when you have 23 people running that they need a lot of protection, but at this point, only Hillary Clinton and if Joe Biden runs would have Secret Service unless someone asks for protection, as President Obama did in 2007 because of so many death threats, as he announced. But generally, it's too early to have Secret Service protection, so they need their own protection, and I'm sure Donald Trump has his own, but I wonder about the others if they have adequate. I hope they do have adequate protection.
It seemed like such an impossible task when we were down in that crowd. It's the only time in my life I've ever been in a place like that where the political figure has attracted so many people. And we were looking around. You could see them on the rooftops. You could see the guys with the guns. But still, how do you protect somebody like that?
Well, all you have to have is one error, and it's a tragedy. And you could be correct 99.9% of the time, but the 0.1% is a problem, and that is the issue. And that's why protection of candidates and of the top leaders of government is a constant threat because of mental illness and because of domestic terrorism and because of foreign terrorism and newer methods now that can be used to kill someone. It's even from a distance. It's really a problem.
So here's the question I would ask you: if we were having dinner, I would say, gosh,
Sure.
I got to ask you about the conspiracy theories. Are there any theories, whether it's Kennedy or Lincoln or any of the others, that are considered conspiracy theories that you actually think there's something to them?
Well, with Lincoln, I think that the idea that the Confederate government was behind the attempt to kill Lincoln makes a lot of sense. Jefferson Davis, Alexander Stephens, and Secretary of State Judah P. Benjamin. It does seem very likely. As far as John F. Kennedy, there's a lot of controversy and tons of different theories, and yet my opinion, and there's no way to prove it, is I tend to believe the official explanation of the Warren Commission.
Okay, so there was just Lee Harvey Oswald, that's it?
That's my belief. Now, of course, the Jack Ruby part is a little more complicated, why he did what he did, and that is confusing. But I just, there's all kinds of theories, and I do mention them all in my chapter on John F. Kennedy, which is the longest chapter. But at this point, I don't accept them. I just point them out. And the same with Robert Kennedy, theories, and even George Wallace theories, and Franklin D. Roosevelt theories. I mention them, but I don't give credence. I just say these are the ideas that have been promoted, but I don't say I believe them. No.
Have we had any attempts on foreign soil?
Attempts on foreign soil, well, yes, actually against former President George H.W. Bush in Kuwait in 1993 when Bill Clinton was president, an attempt that was shown that Saddam Hussein was involved in, yes.
Right.
And supposedly in 2009, Jimmy Carter, traveling in the Middle East, was told there was a threat against his life, not maybe as definite, but enough to be warned about it. So those are a couple of cases that we have to be concerned about. And even after a president's out of office for a long time, or at least quite a while, like George W. Bush, there was this person in New York City, not out of the country, who threatened him just last year, and this is 5 years later. And we've also had where we had an assassination threat by someone who was looking for Chelsea Clinton and didn't realize George W. Bush was president, not Bill Clinton. It's just really weird. A lot of it's mental illness and instability.
Right.
You had brought up George Wallace's name. You were saying in your book that George Wallace's shooter had a Nixon connection.
Yes, George Wallace's, attempted assassin who paralyzed him, Arthur Bremer, was stalking Nixon in 1972 before he actually shot Wallace. So the theory is if he had, let's say, shot and killed Nixon, Spiro Agnew would have been president, which is one of the 15 might-have-beens in my book. I have a chapter on might-have-been presidents, which include Hannibal Hamlin, as I mentioned earlier. But instead, of course, it would be Gerald Ford later because Spiro Agnew, of course, was forced out and resigned. There's also a connection between John Hinckley and Jimmy Carter. He was stalking Jimmy Carter in 1980, right before the election. And let's just say the imagination, if he had killed Carter or wounded him severely, it might have changed the election results. And maybe Carter, if he had lived, would have won, or Walter Mondale, who was his vice president who would have succeeded him, might have defeated Reagan, and we might never have had President Reagan.
Oh, wow.
Theoretically, I mean, so it could have been we wouldn't have had President Kennedy or President Reagan or President TR or FDR if things had been different. So it's very interesting, although it's a what if,
Does the royal family and the Prime Minister in England, do they have their own set of security, or is this something that's just unique to the presidents of the United States?
No, all foreign leaders, as far as I know, in all countries do, and certainly the royal family definitely does. They always are concerned. If you remember back, a cousin of the king was killed by the IRA in the 1970s, blown up in a bomb thing. And prime ministers, any leader of any government has to worry about people who want to do them in the age of terrorism, particularly.
Okay, so you mentioned the bomb. Most of the assassinations, if not all of the assassinations that I can think of, were guns.
Firearms, yes.
Okay, have there been knives and have there been bombs?
There's not been any bombs as far as there were plots. There was one against Bill Clinton in Manila, the Philippines, when he was at a foreign conference blowing up a bridge, but they learned about it and he did not go over that bridge. So that was a theoretical attempt. And also in 2005, George W. Bush was in, I guess he was in Iraq, and there was someone who was threatening, or actually threw a bomb near where he was, and his wife was there, Laura, but it didn't go off. But I mean, these are things that we don't hear much about because, thank God, nothing happened.
Wow. Any of the assassins or attempted assassins that intrigued you more than the others?
Well, John Wilkes Booth, certainly, who is the only famous person other than being an assassin. The others are nobodies, basically. But John Wilkes Booth was a well-known actor, before he shot and killed Lincoln. And, of course, an interesting thing I found about Jackson, going back to Andrew Jackson, is there was a letter in 1835 that has been legitimized as real by the Tennessee Andrew Jackson Project, University of Tennessee, from Junius Brutus Booth, the father of John Wilkes Booth, himself a famous actor, writing a letter threatening the life of President Jackson, but nothing happening.
Really?
But the thought that he actually was, at least in writing, threatening Jackson, and 30 years later, he's of course gone already, he's dead, but his son kills Lincoln, is just fascinating.
What is the connection between the Dry Tortugas and John Wilkes Booth, or the doctor who treated John Wilkes Booth?
Yes, Dr. Samuel Mudd, yes, who was put into prison at the Dry Tortugas and saved a lot of lives there, and eventually was pardoned. Yes, Dr. Samuel Mudd. And there's a lot of debate about whether he really knew Booth when he set his leg, when he came to his home. There's different theories about this, about whether he really was guilty of complicity or not. It's not clear.
Wow. My goodness, so much information. Dr. Feinman, thank you for being on the air with us. I don't want to run out of time before we give the listeners information so they can get the book.
Sure.
What's the best way to get the book?
Okay, well, I would say order from either Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or BooksAMillion.com, or from the publisher Rowman, ROWMAN.com.
All right. The book is titled Assassinations, Threats, and the American Presidency. Dr. Ronald L. Feinman is the author, and you can look them up on all the bookstore sellers, and et cetera. Is this your only book?
No, I published a book back in 1981. It was my doctoral dissertation, which I changed for publication, made it 1/3 shorter. And my advisor was the famous historian Arthur Schlesinger Jr., who wrote about Jackson, Kennedy, and Roosevelt, and it was about progressive Republicans in the U.S. Senate and the New Deal. And in fact, I'll give you the title because the used copies are available: Twilight of Progressivism, the Western Republican Senators and the New Deal. Twilight of Progressivism, the Western Republican Senators and the New Deal, by Johns Hopkins University Press.
All right, excellent. And as a former New Yorker, do you think Trump will get the presidency?
I would be very surprised if he did. I do not think he will. Yeah. I do not even think he'll be the nominee, but I do think he might run on a third party. And if he does, he could end up second rather than third, like Teddy Roosevelt, progressive candidate in 1912, ended up ahead of Republican President William Howard Taft. We could have, we could have another 1912 situation where a third party is prominent enough that it ends up second. But it will only help the Democrats. It will not help the Republicans.
Wow, that's interesting stuff.
Wow.
You're definitely welcome back anytime, Doctor. Thank you for being on the air with us today. That was fun.
No, I'll be glad to come back anytime. Thank you very much.
Let's hope there are no assassinations, though. That's the only thing.
Oh, my God. Yes,
Yeah.
we have to pray that nothing happens to anyone. Thank goodness.
Absolutely.
You know? Yes.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.
Okay.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. A small, short earthquake shaking up some residents in the San Francisco Bay Area today, but no injuries or damage reported. As for possible aftershocks,
this is only approximately magnitude 4, so wouldn't expect too much, but we certainly could have some aftershock.
Dan Blakeman of the U.S. Geological Survey. More drones in the air. The Pentagon plans to boost its number of drone flights by 50% over the next 4 years.
According to the Wall Street Journal, the Pentagon also will increase the capacity for lethal airstrikes. The Pentagon believes that will give military commanders access to more intelligence in hotspots such as Ukraine, Iraq, Pakistan, and Syria.
Fox Radio's John Decker. Traffic deaths are up 14% of the year's first 6 months. The National Safety Council says lower gas prices have encouraged drivers to put more miles on the road, but that's not the whole explanation. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Geico applauds your inner road name.
A slow clap goes out to your biker alter ego. You might be mild-mannered Michael in the office, the guy known for raising his hand in meetings, but out on the open road, it's Motor Mike. Geico supports you and your bike, Motor Mike, because beyond cars, Geico insures motorcycles, those glorious vroom-vroom machines. With 24/7 customer service and great rates, the only thing you'll be raising from now on is a heck of a good time. So head out on the highway and make that road yours, Mike. Make it yours.
Geico Motorcycle. See how much you could save.
Overturned truck blocking the carpool lane, freeway construction slowing everything down. I travel for work. News like that used to ruin my whole day until I discovered Citrix GoToMeeting. With GoToMeeting, I can meet from anywhere using my computer, tablet, or smartphone. And with HD video, I simply turn on my webcam and it's like being in the same room, which means I can stay productive no matter how bad the traffic gets.
Visit GoToMeeting.com and start our free 30-day trial. That's GoToMeeting.com.
Good credits, bad credits. It's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer. We're not a bank. We're not your mother. We're OcalaForSale.com. Marion County's marketplace for cars, trucks, and SUVs. We've got thousands of sellers standing by to take your call. No middleman. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, rust-proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
Do you have areas that have started sagging or drooping? Is what you're looking at not quite the same as it was years ago? Are there enhancements you've been putting off? Is there serious damage you need fixed? Then call on us, Damage Control Services. When your roof is sagging and the drywall is drooping after a storm, or your home just needs some enhancements, from damage repairs to new construction, Damage Control Services is here to help.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
Here are today's headlines from The Source. WOCA. President Obama is remembering civil rights leader Julian Bond as a hero and a friend. In a statement released by the White House, the president said that justice and equality was the mission that spanned his life and that he helped change this country for the better. Bond died Saturday in Fort Walton Beach here in Florida after a brief illness. He was 75 years old. Bond had strong ties to Northwest Florida. He and his wife, Pamela Horowitz, owned a condominium in Destin. Bond was a former chairman of the NAACP and first president of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which called him a visionary and tireless champion for civil and human rights. He also held elected office in Georgia and lost a bid for the U.S. House of Representatives. A crew member on a Carnival cruise ship that sails out of Port Canaveral is being charged with sexually assaulting a teenage passenger. The father of the alleged victim reported the incident to ship security on the Carnival Valor, which in turn contacted the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. Deputies said 46-year-old Giovanni Sauzo Battiz, a stateroom steward, started talking to the male teen while he was in the sauna and then followed him into the shower where the assault took place. The following statement was issued by Carnival Cruise Line on Saturday. Quote, yesterday, August 14th, we received a report of an alleged sexual contact between a male teenage guest and a crew member on board Carnival Valor. Law enforcement authorities, including the FBI and Brevard County Sheriff's Department, were immediately notified while full support and assistance was provided to the guest. We extend our appreciation to both agencies for their support and are continuing to provide assistance to the alleged victim, unquote. Sauzo Battiz was charged with sexual battery of a person under 16 years of age and lewd and lascivious molestation. He was being held at the Brevard County Jail with bond set at $95,000. All four suspects in the kidnapping and carjacking of a federal agent in Orlando's International Drive tourist corridor have been arrested. All four are high school students. 18-year-old Gregory McDonald was the last suspect taken into custody. The Orange County Sheriff's Office said McDonald was arrested without incident Friday night at an apartment complex in West Orange County. Two other suspects, ages 15 and 16, turned themselves in at the Sheriff's Office Friday morning, and 18-year-old Dante Askins was picked up Thursday night. Deputies said they pulled him over on I Drive in another stolen car. According to the Sheriff's Office, Askins' fingerprints were found on the federal agent's SUV as he confessed to being involved in the incident. The agent was vacationing with family members when he was carjacked at a hotel on Universal Boulevard. The unidentified victim says he was pistol whipped and forced to drive the suspects around town for more than an hour. His wife called OnStar, and when an operator communicated with the vehicle, the suspects fled. The agent was not seriously injured. And Star Wars is coming from a galaxy far, far away to Disney theme parks. The Walt Disney Company announced Saturday that it is developing 2 Star Wars-themed expansions to Walt Disney World in Central Florida and Disneyland in Southern California. The new 14-acre attractions will introduce a new planet from the films created by George Lucas. The lands will have 2 signature attractions, including the ability to take the controls of the Millennium Falcon on a customized secret mission and an epic Star Wars adventure that puts guests in the middle of a climactic battle. Disney CEO Bob Iger made the announcement at the annual D23 Expo in Anaheim, home of Disneyland. He said, quote, I am thrilled to announce the next chapter in the long and exciting history between Disney parks and Star Wars. He went on to say, we are creating a jaw-dropping new world that represents our largest single-themed land expansion ever, unquote. No opening date was given. And those are the headlines from The Source, WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, times of clouds and sun with a couple of afternoon thunderstorms around, high 87 to 91. There'll be a shower or thunderstorm this evening, then partly clouded later tonight, though 73 to 77. For tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds. Best chance of any thunderstorm in the afternoon, the high 89 to 93. For Wednesday, partly sunny, a good chance for a thunderstorm or two, high 89 to 93. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Hi, I'm Seth with AA Lock, Dock, and Security. Have you ever thought about the locks or security on your house or business? Have you ever wondered why the keys to your new car cost so much? Well, at AA Lock, Dock, and Security, we can help with securing your valuables. We can even replace those expensive transponder keys. We can give you the knowledge that no one else will. Call AA Lock, Dock, and Security at 867-1965. That's 867-1965.
Your weekends are getting a little retool.
Swear to God, not making a joke.
Check this out. New shows? Check. Some new talent? Check. Let's welcome the guys.
Let's get it going.
Arnie Spanier.
Unbelievable.
TJ Reeves.
This is what you get.
Your weekends are on fire. Because that's how exotic it is.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.